And we're live. Good evening, good morning, good night. Welcome to another edition of Hong Kong House of Cards. Tonight's scene is most likely a brief social scene taking place between Dmitri Dragomir and Zhou, the Kuei-jin, seat of the world, and so on and so forth. Dmitri, having procured the number of the seat from the semi-publicly listed entries at the museum and prior from the Emerald Mother, has taken it upon himself to give Zhou number a call. From a secure line, of course.
Okay, meanwhile, Jolie is busy learning something. So...
Goddamn pentacle interruptions.
He is going to pick up the phone and says, yes, how can I help you?
Yes, is this Zhou?
Yes, to whom am I speaking?
This is Dmitri. I believe we met at least once at the Emerald Mother.
All right.
I was hoping to have a conversation with you in your official capacity, though it is not so much directly dealing with your role so much as your seat.
Where do you want to meet?
Well, since the Emerald Mother is unavailable and most likely will never come back, the museum, perhaps? Adriana's place?
Very well.
I appreciate it. And he'll hang up.
All right. An hour later, Jolie arrives at the museum.
Dmitri is already there, has settled in slightly, and has probably gotten himself something to drink, non-alcoholic. Presumably, since it's apparently a dead venue, there's not too many other people in the VIP lounge at the moment. Most likely none, honestly. That's the way we've been treating it. Dmitri will nod at Jolie. He does recognize him, presumably. He did meet him, and his memory's not that bad.
All right.
And vice versa, probably the same, though Dmitri probably looks a bit more cleaned up than the last time Jolie saw him. I think, actually, his appearance score was 2 the last time you saw him. Anyways, he looks better now. Much more clean-shaven and everything, for the most part. Anyways, he nods his head to you politely and approaches. Thank you for coming on such short notice. I'm sorry if I interrupted any prior engagements you had.
No worries. Please stab your hand.
Sorry, what do you say?
Please stab your hand.
He raises an eyebrow. Some sort of proof of identity?
Yes. One could say that.
Very well, if you insist. It's all being recorded by the VIP cameras anyway, so he's just like, all right. Just reaches over and pulls out a little utility knife, and there's a bit of a pinprick. Pinches it, it wells up a little bit. Or did you have in mind going through the hand? I'd rather not mutilate.
I just needed a pinprick. All right. Now, I'm going to literally test whether you're a living being or not, so this might hurt a bit. And I'm just going to do this as a small test.
All right. Could always ask my speaker to vouch for me if you prefer, but...
he just give me your hand.
Well, gives you his hand. He did call the meeting, so he's, going to be polite.
He licks your blood and regains a point of yin chi.
Really? You guys can regain that from a lick? Damn. Does it
You know,
weaken the character?
it's
Or?
you lose 1 point of quint temporary. You can always regain it.
Temporarily. Okay. He'll probably notice that though, because he just actually lost some recently. He's like, felt that. He doesn't stagger over, but he's just like shaking his head a little bit.
It's just 1, so.
Oh, I know, but he only had 3 to begin with, and he spent 1 the other day. So he's down to 1 now. Will this one come back by the end of the night, by the way, or?
Anytime you're going to a node and regain your quint, you're fine. So.
Okay. Good enough.
Same rule. Well, at least I know you're a human and not one of those technocracy drones.
No, I've already had my head ripped open by my own house. So, if you have any concerns about that matter, you can take it up with Arthur, or perhaps with, God damn it, out of character, the name escapes me. The Hermetic Master from Flambeau. You know who I'm talking about. I just don't remember his name.
Yeah. I know who you're talking about.
He name drops him.
Mike.
Yeah, he name drops him. I can't remember his name to save my life out of character.
Anyway.
Yeah, he's
Michael, Michael Smithfield or something like that.
Something like that, yeah. He's like, yes, those two have ascertained my loyalties.
Well,
I'm committed enough for their purposes.
Well, at least now I know that it's you and it's not someone else posing as you, to say the least.
Given how little we've talked, that's fair enough.
Now that I'm a bit more clear-headed, what do you need me for anyway?
Well, I didn't wish to call you over here unnecessarily. There's 2 matters. One is directly in regards to your role as World. According to what I was told, the World is responsible for spiritual matters, the underworld, as one would call it, and that sort of matter. So you would be most familiar with any damage wrought by recent events. Would I be correct?
Yes, you are correct.
My knowledge of such things is limited. I have a vague understanding of certain matters in that department, shall we say, but as far as personal skill goes, you won't find me traipsing around any of their particular realities. But
understandable.
There are some of my kind who have done that, but I'm not there. I thought it might interest you to know, I have acquired detailed information regarding that particular event, and all of that information has been recorded, backed up safely where it cannot be accessed, no internet access or anything of that nature, and I will be giving it to my speaker in the near future. Hopefully something will be resolved on that matter next Tuesday. I understand that the individual is now under the protection of someone else in that house, but he kind of shrugs a little bit. It might make a difference that there's damning proof now.
I see.
On a scale of 1 to 10, how badly did he fuck things up?
11.
That's about what I'd imagined. I won't ask that you explain it in layman's terms because I don't want to insult your time. Which brings me to the other matter. I understand things have been in flux in the city recently. My arrival was not the smoothest. that explosion in the harbor and all that. Which your character may not even know that was him, but
Anyway, continue.
Yes. And there are many roles in the council which are as yet unoccupied. I plan on contributing to the city however I may, whether or not I have a fancy title to go with it. But I have found that sometimes people will only approach someone if they have the fancy title because it lends them an air of credence. Suffice to say, I don't believe having a seat would grant me any additional authority necessarily, but it might make getting the job done easier. The seat I'm speaking of in question is actually the seat of judgment. Has there been one in the city to date, or has that role been unoccupied for some time? That you know of.
There have been talks of a judgment at one point, though due to my role and due to my position within the council, I am not privy to knowing who it is as of yet, or if there was. So far, from my understanding, the seat should be unoccupied for the moment.
That was my understanding. Sorry, go ahead. There's lag. I'm not trying to talk over you.
Yeah, but such things are always in flux, and due to the high mortality of the city, one can never be too sure whether or not such role is occupied or not, but with the current war against the technocracy that we are waging, things are a bit, like, this complicated.
That's understandable under the circumstances, which is part of why I wish to be of more visible aid. I haven't been idle in the past 2 months, has it been, since I arrived in the city? About that, I believe. I have not been idle. Without saying too much to bore you, I've managed to keep myself quite busy. I've gathered others of my house, new arrivals for the most part, but one or two who have some position in the city. We are doing our best to try and consolidate and get to the point where we can actively assist in any matters the council may need assistance in. I'm proud to say that we're almost to that point now. By next month, we should be able to do quite a bit. And as far as my particular skill set, which, well, let us say my strongest skill is not that I am a mage, as you would term it, or a will worker, or whatever you would call it. I call it a scientist, but each to their own. My strength is that I am fond of what you might call networking. If I lack a skill, I find those who have it, and I make sure it is utilized. So when there is a matter that needs solving, if I can't solve it, I know who can, and I get them to get working on it as quickly as possible. And I light a fire under their ass to make sure it happens. So, for example, as the seat of judgment, while I can personally do quite a bit to track down offenders or determine information, it's not so much my skill as it is the skill of all those that I am able to call together. But as I understand it, it would still be completing the task. And that's what matters. I'm not claiming to be some all-seeing clairvoyant. Does that make any sense?
He nods in approval.
The only thing, again, I will not try to bore you with the details of our ways, but right now, with all of those that I have either in my employ or close acquaintance who are willing to assist me in such matters, the only thing we do not have a clear understanding of is the ways of the spirits. Unfortunately, this city has you. So I don't need to worry about that by itself. Though, trust me, eventually I would love to learn more about it. So, hypothetically, if I were in the seat of judgment, again, simply a hypothetical scenario, if that were to happen and something were to occur in the spirit realms that need investigation, would the seat of judgment be able to ask the seat of the world for assistance in that matter to help them compile evidence?
Indeed.
And I think that our abilities would complement each other. For if you needed any information about someone on the mortal realms inflicting harm on the spiritual realms, I could probably find them. If they're here, I can probably find them. If they're there, that's your thing. In any case, I won't beat around the bush. I have people willing to put forth a nomination. Not those in my employ, not those sharing a roof with me. Because, as I understand it, that would simply be akin to nominating myself. But if there is a nomination, as I understand it, people have a chance to object. Do they not?
He nods. Yes.
And if any objections are raised, they are heard out. And if they do not sway those on the seats or council positions, the seats then vote as to the eligibility of a person for a role. And if they pass with a majority, as I understand it, the decision moves on to the speakers. And if the speakers ratify it by majority, then it is accepted? Or do I have the system wrong?
It is correct.
Excellent. Well, then let me be blunt in this, and I apologize for that. What would you have me do to prove my suitability for the position? You are a ranking member. You have a seat. I would need your support more than likely any other, since we would be working together. Other than pricking my palm and taking a bit of my quintessence. He kind of smiles, like he's obviously not offended. He should say, like, other than that, what else can I do? I fed you. You could at least buy me dinner.
Well, with the recent event and the troublemaker. Yes, that's the word that I want to use. Troublemaker. That has dashed hopes of how many graves were there? Hundreds? Thousands? More?
He raises an eyebrow like that's clearly more than he was expecting. I didn't, based on the number of reports one usually hears, that's a lot. I did not think there were so many ghosts, even in a city this size. Don't most souls, kind of waves his hands, pass on?
Most. But there are those that have attachments. There are those that have lingering regret that needs to be ratified in order to pass on to within the cycle so that they may take form once more in the wheel of fate, whether what realm they so happen to be judged upon. That is the matter for the respective kings of their domain. However, the thing is, due to the actions of the gentleman in question, any chance of them having a choice to be brought back within the wheel of fate has been dashed completely due to their mortal attachments upon the grave being.
So he's essentially damned an indeterminate number of spirits into unrelenting torment, what Westerners might call hell.
Correct. And due to such, in turn, powered up a device made by some what you'd deem them as infernalists.
Lovely.
Was the word for it. I call them heretics. You may have a different name for them. But those that not don't control demons, but rather are subservient to the powers of the Yama. They have a certain device within the northern cemetery that now has a lot more sources to fuel in and of itself, creating.
So wait. So you're saying not only did he attract mortal attention and problems, which are obvious from the news report, not only did he basically damn an indeterminate number of spirits to hell, but he also gave them essentially, whether knowingly or not, as fuel to some sort of devil worshipping something.
Nods in agreement.
Which, okay, not to be crass, but which type are these devil worshippers? Yours, mine, Becker's? He's obviously not sure.
These are the remnants of a force that, well, I personally have tried to quench the influence. These are those that, whether or not they copycat or they are the children left behind by their authoritative parents, thinking that they are adults enough to have deals with the demons from the realms of the
Are they
Yama Kings.
are they vampires, or are they, as you would term it, will workers? It seems obvious they're not of your kind.
There have been of many types of all of the houses,
Oh dear
though
lord.
none of my persuasion, for we are the host and we know better.
That's
But
what I was getting at. So you're saying it's some sort of conglomerate of devil worshipping vampires, will workers, and what? Let me guess. There are a couple furries involved as well.
I have no conclusive evidence of whom all of the remnants of such a devil-worshipping faction are. I just know that, for now, there is a wraith of an infernalist, how do you put it, vampire of the Western type, and a individual that happens to be a will worker, maybe, who's to truly stay until we clearly raid the structure in and of itself to see the true number of assailants that occupy it and wreak havoc upon um, the Shadowlands.
Well, is there a physical component of this fortress that we know of, or is it simply some sort of ethereal structure that is only visible and usable by those in that realm?
To my knowledge, and this is just to my knowledge, it is merely of a more metaphysical component rather than a physical one. The cemetery, indeed, it is there, and indeed will pose some difficulty to everyone that tries to move into that certain area, you included.
Trust me, I don't plan on moving on that sort of a place without a plan. And given, as I said, the one thing I do not have at my disposal is someone familiar with that sort of thing. Well, I take that back. You're acquainted with Jason, I assume, since he is one of the other seats.
Yes, indeed I am.
Jason has implied he has some knowledge of spiritual matters. So, translating it into what I do would be more difficult, but that's something. All right, so you've explained the scenario. Now, what specifically, rather than assuming what you intended, what would you have of me in that regards to prove myself?
There are two things that I would require. Do you have any object of particular significance to you that you hold with pleasant memories?
I have such objects, of course. I would usually guard them very closely.
Unfortunately, I would need it to, rather not it per se. It's the emotion attached to it is the term that I'm trying to say.
What would you need the object for? And would it come back to me intact?
Let me think. He thinks on it because this is one of those things that he didn't do in the past.
It's all good. I actually have a perfect item. It's visible in his picture. Can you guess what it is? No, it's not. Yes, the ring. It's actually my legend item, so I kind of want it back if I give it to you. Otherwise, I lose my legend dot.
The idea is he needs something that you have pleasant memories towards it, pleasant feelings, something along those lines.
Definitely would qualify.
Motherfucker, you don't have anything that reminds you of your past that you...
Oh, he's got other things. He's got other things, but he's still waiting to hear what you plan on doing with it and whether the object would come back in one piece. If you say, I need to use it to put a curse on you, or
no,
or if you say it's going to be melted down into a porta potty.
In character.
Yes.
Okay. So, one such as I would need a vast amount of objects in order to transpose their significance from their memories, their feelings that they've received by having spent in the presence of, I want to say humans, but that isn't technically the correct term. If anyone that has sort the capability of pleasant feelings, and said feelings would be transposed and sold into, well, technically they're used to buy certain items that I would rather trade to get anchors for wraiths. Such anchors keep them firmly on the side so that they have time to transcend their existence, to put it mildly. But the items in question, I have no idea whether or not the condition themselves.
I'm sure I have something more suitable then. Probably not on my person, but I can definitely get something for you. Possibly more than one. I'm not a young man, or at least not as young as I used to be, so I do have a few keepsakes. I don't keep as many as I used to. Life on the does not entitle one to such things. But I can find something for that. That is the first thing you require, yes? What is the second?
I need my phone to be able to answer it when I hop on to other worlds.
That would be something. I can ask those in my house. If it's not someone in my personal employ, Jason might be able to work something out. And if Jason is unable to, there might be others.
How you give me those items, it is up to you. But
If
I
you
have
wish,
stated my price.
if you wish my promise that they will be fulfilled, I can fulfill the first request before the council meeting. The second, given that it is only 4 days from now, I don't believe even an Archmagi could make it quite that fast. But I can give you my word that regardless of whether you support me in the council meeting, if you are asking for this, in the interest of cooperation, I will see that it is done, whether it is I that do it or someone else. Is that sufficient?
Understandable. I currently need the first thing a lot faster than the second one.
I'll ransack my room later tonight. Do you have an address I can have it delivered to?
The Cathedral of Immaculate Conception.
Would it be beneficial if I convinced some of the others under my roof to also divest themselves of belongings of that nature?
As many as you possibly can, yes.
Then I will do so. It is an inconvenience for them, but if it is more necessary and vital for others, then it's a small price to pay. Very well. I will see that it is done.
Indeed. Then you have my vote.
Thank you. I should ask. He hesitates for a second because I actually just dropped something on my foot. Sorry. Ouch. Okay. He hesitates for a second. There are only, if I am not mistaken, 6 seats currently filled within the city, with the one known as Charlie having vanished. Your own, Jason's, Michael's, the Lady Desdemona, and two others of your own, the hosts. I keep wishing to say house, but that's not appropriate.
We are the hosts. We cannot join a house.
Understood. As I said, it's simply a slip of the tongue. But there are two other seats, the Emperor and the Tower, I believe. It's ironic. The Tower is what the rest of the will workers refer to the Technocratic Union as. A coincidence,
Your
of course. Do you think it would be wise to try and contact either of them, or are they somewhat more reclusive? I would not want to garner any ill will when I'm simply trying to ensure that something comes to pass and it's a benefit for everyone.
The Tower and the Emperor, you say?
Out of character, I think those are the only other ones.
Out of character, those are NPCs. And I'm going to answer in kind. They are on council matters in order to, well, procure us some places of meeting that we could go towards.
Well, I have numbers for them. I could attempt to contact them at some point. Out of character, I'm guessing I have to get Brett for it.
Yeah, talk to Brett. Out of character.
Understood. Okay.
But in character, they are busy with their own respective missions.
Well,
I wouldn't speak on their behalf due to I'm not them.
Understood. I believe I have done as much as I can, then. I will, as I said, head back to my place and see what I can find. I should have it delivered by morning.
Understandable. I'll have someone be on the lookout for your transport.
And as soon as I determine anything of note regarding the alterations to a phone, I will let you know. Trust me, it will be on my list and fairly close to the top since I have made some recent breakthroughs. But it will be a matter of how soon can I find someone who knows the proper, I guess you would say, rituals. It sounds like something that Nathan or Castle might be familiar with. Yes, I will get to it as swiftly as I may. Thank you again for your time. And with that, he stands up.
Mayor steps, be silent.
He kind of smiles at that.
He gets up, bows, and walks back to his own place to further his study.
And with that, I think it's a good place to end the scene, right?
Right.
All right. Thank you, players, for playing. Thank you, watchers, for watching, and have a good night.